All Hallows Eve, better known as Halloween, is said to be a day when the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead is at its thinnest. Although October 31st is a day when real witches and warlocks come together to celebrate and do rituals and spells on this day that they call Samhain, many Christians still find themselves celebrating the Day of the Dead by trick-or-treating for candy while sometimes wearing ghoulish and devilish costumes. Today is October 1st, and this month on UPTV, we are going to be delivering some of the most creepiest content as we count down the 31 nights of All Hallows Eve. So as we begin our journey, I have only one question to ask. Should Christians celebrate Halloween? I feel there is no better way to answer this question than by starting this month with a Halloween documentary we originally created a year ago. You may just find that the answer is not so black and white. So get your popcorn, turn off all the lights, and prepare to officially be spooked as we count down the 31 nights of All Hallows Eve.
Tales from the crypt.
Like father?
My father was very heavy into Santeria.
Like son.
I was committed to the dark side. I was committed to the devil.
His deal with the devil.
The devil said to me, I give you anything you want. Just ask.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor. At my signal, unleash hell.
Halloween is one of the scariest times of the year, but it's also one of the most celebrated times of the year. Many people label Halloween as the devil's holiday. An ex-Satanist warns us of why the devil loves it when we celebrate Halloween. Some even say that Halloween is a day when the dead can officially cross over into the world of the living. But what is the real history of Halloween? Is it a holiday that should be celebrated by Christians? And did Christians actually have a hand in making Halloween what it is today? It's a holiday surrounded by many mysteries, and the only holiday we reward children for threatening us. My name is Devin Worlds. Follow UPTV as we seek out and attempt to answer some of the most terrifying and haunting questions that people have about Halloween. Prepare to be officially creeped out as we discover the real satanic truth about Halloween.
Halloween, boy, when I was a kid, Halloween meant dressing up like Superman or the girls like, you know, Snow White or something, and we would go door to door in the neighborhood with our little bags and getting candy, and then of course we'd make ourselves sick. And then a number of years later, they started saying, wait, this is transgressive. I mean, it's based upon something really creepy. And this was a night where you could commune with the dead, and you could, people would dress up in scary costumes so that maybe they could scare the dead or have rapport with the dead, and they would traffic in certain favors with the dead. And as was often the case, the church, and I would say essentially the Catholic Church in the early centuries, started to appropriate these various celebrations. And you know, people say, why do we have eggs at Easter? What's that? Well, it was a kind of a spring fertility thing, but we'll say, okay, that's our Easter. And then as the church appropriated this, they said, okay, we're going to have this All Saints Day. It was Martyrs Day, November 1st, and All Saints Day, and the night before is All Saints Eve, or All Hallows Eve, Halloween. And it's ours now, and so we can do this. And it had various iterations. Well, people went back to the roots and they said, wait a second, this is nothing we should connect with. What about that? Well, it strikes me, and by the way, there's no Bible verse that says, woe unto you who practice Halloween and, you know, dress up like Princess Leia or something. There's no verse like that. So what do? You work with broad principles. And in some cases, the Bible speaks very clearly. Don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't murder. In other cases, it seems to be there is some leeway, some room for legitimate disagreement.
Halloween is a day when ghosts and goblins, witches and warlocks, and demons and devils all come out and play. They hunt our streets, knock on our doors, and they threaten to play tricks on us if we don't supply them with delicious treats. But these little dead monsters aren't really monsters at all. They are actually cute children dressed in costumes trying to get free candy. But where and when did this horrifying tradition begin? Movies like Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, and the scariest of them all, the Halloween movies about serial killer Michael Myers, all play a role in keeping this creepy tradition alive. While Hollywood is not responsible for starting Halloween, they sure have learned how to capitalize off of the holiday throughout the years. In fact, this October of 2018, a new Halloween movie was released in theaters, with many conspiracy theorists already believing that Hollywood and everyone in it is a part of some satanic mystical cult known as the Illuminati. It makes you wonder if this is the real reason why Hollywood praises the Day of the Dead so much.
Hollywood is ran by the Illuminati. The head of the Illuminati is called the Pindar, P-I-N-D-A-R. That actually means the dragon. The head of Illuminati is a motherfucking reptilian, whether you believe it or not, don't care. That's why they call the 13 royal bloodline families. The bloodline is royal because it's extraterrestrial.
Wicked.
It is said that Hollywood is actual wood that comes from a tree known as the holly tree. Some people believe that witches and warlocks burn the wood from the holly tree to cast evil spells on the unsuspecting world.
This is the home of the devil, which is the most negative frequency. Now, when we want to break down Hollywood, we have to break down the etymology of the word. Hollywood. Exactly what it sounds like wood from a tree. Different trees have different woods. Just like different plants have different herbs. You have a tree called the holly tree. And they used to take the wood from the holly tree and use it in rituals and spells. You can go look this up right now. Hollywood used for spells.
Hollywood may indeed be satanic, and evil witches and warlocks may even be using the magical properties of this tree to cast spells on the world through our television sets. But real witches actually have a different view of the holly tree and its uses.
The leaves look like a crown, and in fact in one of our favourite carols, The Holly and the Ivy, it says of all the trees that are in the woods, the holly bears the crown. Now this carol is obviously pre-Christian, as it's obvious, and some of the words have been changed, but the holly and the ivy represents the male aspect, because holly is a very masculine energy, and the ivy represents the female aspect, because ivy is thought of as a feminine energy. So the mixing of the holly and the ivy is a male and the female. So that's quite interesting. As I said, it's a masculine energy. Planetary associations includes Mars. So the battle god Mars is linked to holly. You can probably see why. The spears. You wouldn't mess with a holly tree. You would. If you did, you'd be in trouble. And also Saturn is another planetary link. Saturn rules Capricorn, and Capricorn is at the time of the winter solstice. Saturn's about patience and lessons. It's a very strong, evolving kind of energy. So you're getting from this, some of the ideas of the holly is, you know, we looked at other trees and they have all energies. They have light-hearted energies, they have fun energies. This is a deep energy, this is a wild and strong energy, yet it's one where you're meant to know yourself. It's one where you're meant to take responsibility for your actions. It's a king tree. It may be wild, but it's also got that energy and that lesson of knowing yourself. Of course, you've got the berries as well. That can't be. There's some berries left here. The red berries, the blood, another key to life. There is, again, here's my doctor's warning: do not self-administer holly berries. They're pretty toxic. But there was ways where the wise woman or the druid would be able to administer a small amount of holly berry, and it would work as a purifier. It would work as in a healing way.
With many dark, horrifying mysteries surrounding Hollywood, it's no surprise that the truth about Hollywood can be just as bone-chilling as the holiday known as Halloween. But was Halloween always as spooky as we believe it to be? Well, yes, just not in the same way that it is today.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Figuring out the origins of Halloween is no easy task. It is widely believed that Halloween comes from an ancient Celtic harvest festival known as Samhain, which did indeed have pagan roots. They say that Samhain was later Christianized as Halloween by the early church. But did Samhain actually have anything to do with Halloween? No matter how you slice the pie, Christians are being blamed for starting this devilish holiday. Some people believe that Halloween began solely as a Christian holiday without any influence from Celtic festivals such as Samhain. So today, many Halloween traditions are believed to be influenced by folk customs and beliefs of many Celtic-speaking countries. A folklorist by the name of Jack Centino once wrote that there was throughout Ireland an uneasy truce existing between customs and beliefs associated with Christianity and those associated with religions that were Irish before Christianity arrived. While exploring the origins of Halloween, a historian named Nicholas Rogers noted that while some folklorists have detected its origins in the Roman feast of Pomona, the goddess of fruits and seeds, or in the festival of the dead called Parentalia, it is more typically linked to the Celtic festival of Samhain, which comes from the Old Irish for summer's end.
In Gaelic traditions, they actually used to use turnips to carve scary faces and to scare away all the undead and low vibrational entities or spirits that used to lurk when the veil was at its thinnest. And this is during the time of October, and this is where the Samhain tradition comes into play, now known as Halloween and also celebrated as Dia de los Muertos, or other known as Day of the Dead. We celebrate our loved ones and those who have passed on, and we honor their remembrance in so many loving ways. And you can set up an altar with some pictures of your loved ones, ancestors who you met or did not, and people you aspire to be, because this Samhain tradition is also known as the Witch's New Year, and it's that last time that we have this life and growth, because after this comes winter, and that's when the cold, dark death happens in the air and in the atmosphere. So during Samhain, I like to, like I said, decorate with pumpkins. I like to use fall foliage and other things I find around nature, like acorns. There's a lot of abundance you can pull in from all these things, and when you're offering them to your ancestors, I like to light candles for them as well and offer them all these natural goodies, because they are now one with the earth, as is the cycle of life, and we all will be one with earth once again.
Samhain was considered one of the most important days of the year to the Celts because it marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of a winter, or the darker half of the year. To the Celts, Samhain was a time when the boundaries of this world and the other world thinned. This meant that the spirits and fairies could more easily come into this world and be active in this world. So when did the Celts actually celebrate Samhain? October 31st through November 1st.
My name is Beth, and I am a former pagan or witch, and now a born-again believer or Christian as of about a year and a half ago. And for witches or pagans, October 31st, or Samhain, that's spelled S-A-M-H-A-I-N, is a high holy day in their wheel of the year. They have many Sabbats during the year, but October 31st is one of their very special high holy days. Witches say that that is the day where the veil is thinnest between the worlds. It is when they use it to perform rituals, to contact the dead, to talk to their ancestors, and they just basically celebrate death. So for witches or pagans, death is not something that they fear. It is something that is to be revered. It is part of the cycle of life. And most witches or pagans consider that when you die, you're either reincarnated or you go on to another realm, a spirit realm, where your spirit would live on, but your physical body would have passed away. And so on October 31st, I have done these rituals and spells to contact the dead, and it is very real. You are entering into a state where you are affecting the spiritual world. You're becoming a part of a spiritual realm that you cannot see with your eyes, but is there. And the intent is not to do harm or be negative, but I I do believe that it is actually demonic without witches or pagans knowing. When I did it, I had no idea what I was really doing. It was what you do as a witch. Your high holy days and your cycle of the year and your wheel of life, they're just what you go around, and that and the goddess. And it's just so October 31st is a huge celebration. It's also the Celtic New Year.
Many of you may be wondering, where exactly did the name Halloween come from? And what do the Christians have to do with this dark, twisted holiday? Well, the answer is simple. As Christianity spread across the known world, it adopted and reimagined pagan folk ways, instead of trying to get rid of them altogether. Because the church decided to adopt pagan ways, it made it easier for the church to convert pagans to Christianity. Lumeria was a key pagan festival that the Christians gave a full makeover. On May 13th, the Romans believed that the ghosts of people would come up from their graves and hunt people. This was known as Lumeria. To make amends with the dead, the Romans would pour milk onto their graves or offer up little cakes. But the Christians had other plans in mind. They turned May 13th, or what was called Lumeria, into All Saints' Day. This day was a day to honor the most holiest of dead Christians. The church tried to Christianize this day as much as possible, but it really kept a lot of the same themes and traditions going. Because All Saints' Day was a huge success, church leaders decided to make a decision about this day that is still in effect to this very day. They moved All Saints' Day to November 1st of every year and called it All Hallows' Day. Because Samhain fell on the night of October 31st, people began calling Samhain All Hallows Evening. This got shortened to All Hallows Even, until it finally became Halloween. As a Christian myself, it's really disturbing that the holiday Christians gripe about the most, the devil's holiday, was actually influenced by the church. And it doesn't stop there. Christians even named November 2nd as All Souls Day, the day when they celebrated the passing of all souls. This is ultimately where the spooky part of Halloween was birthed. All thanks to the church, a day for the dead to enter the living world was invented. Halloween. Although Christians, Celts, and pagans may be responsible for the origins of Halloween, like the name, the date, and some traditions, they certainly are not responsible for Halloween as we know it today. Halloween as we know it is not that old of a holiday, but there are many historical components that make up Halloween, like trick-or-treating, the symbolism of witches and black cats, bats, skeletons, ghosts, the masks we wear, candy, and even the history behind the jack-o'-lantern. All of these components of Halloween have a very interesting origin story, especially the jack-o'-lantern. The term jack-o'-lantern was first applied to people, not pumpkins, as far as back as 1663. The term meant a man with a lantern, or a night watchman. Just a decade or so later, it began to be used to refer to the mysterious lights sometimes seen at night over bogs, swamps, and marshes. As the story goes, Stingy Jack, often described as a blacksmith, invited the devil to join him for a drink. Stingy Jack didn't want to pay for the drinks from his own pocket and convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that could be used to settle the tab. The devil did so, but Jack skipped out on the bill and kept the devil's coin in his pocket with the silver cross so that the devil couldn't shift back to his original form. Jack eventually let the devil loose, but made him promise that he wouldn't seek revenge on Jack and wouldn't claim his soul when he died. Later, Jack irked the devil again by convincing him to climb up a tree to pick some fruit, then carved a cross in the trunk so that the devil couldn't climb back down. Jack freed him again, on the condition that the devil once again not take revenge and not claim Jack's soul. When Stingy Jack eventually died, God would not allow him into heaven, and the devil, keeping his word, rejected Jack's soul at the gates of hell. Instead, the devil gave him a single burning coal to light his way and sent him off in the night to find his own hell. Jack put the coal into a carved out turnip and has supposedly been roaming the earth with it ever since. In Ireland, the ghost lights seen in the swamps were said to be Jack's improvised lantern moving about as his restless soul wandered the countryside. He and the lights were dubbed Jack of the Lantern or Jack-o'-lantern. The legend immigrated to the New World with the Irish, and it collided with another Old World tradition and a New World crop. Making vegetable lanterns was a tradition of the British Isles, and carved out turnips, beets, and potatoes were stuffed with coal, wood, and candles as impromptu lanterns to celebrate the fall harvest. As a prank, kids would sometimes wander off the road with a glowing veggie to trick their friends and travelers into thinking that they were Stingy Jack or another lost soul. In America, pumpkins were easy enough to come by and good for carving, and got absorbed both by the carved lantern tradition and the associated prank. Over time, kids refined the prank and began carving crude faces into the pumpkins to kick up the fright factor or to make the lanterns look like a disembodied head. By the mid-1800s, Stingy Jack's nickname was applied to the prank pumpkin lanterns that echoed his own lamp, and the pumpkin jack-o'-lantern got its name. It wasn't until toward the end of the 19th century that jack-o'-lanterns went from just a trick to a standard seasonal decoration. As fun as this tale of Jack and the Devil was for kids back in the day, perhaps another face of Halloween had a more real and terrifying past. In medieval times, the church would hunt down and kill anybody they deemed to be a demon, a witch, a warlock, or a sorcerer. The 16th century was a dark time for women because over time, more and more women were being accused of being a witch. They were mostly seen as evil and creepy if they lived alone with no spouse. In this time, a lot of basic household tools that these women used were turned into symbols of evil, such as a broom that people believe witches used to fly with, or a cauldron, which was used for cooking but would be seen as a tool witches used to cast curses and spells on people by making magical potions and elixirs. They would even be accused of being a witch if they helped nurse someone back into good health. It was often seen as a miracle if someone recovered from falling ill, and unfortunately, that was associated with magic, witchcraft, and sorcery. In medieval times, it wasn't uncommon for women to have cats or to have cats hanging around because they fed them. So it didn't take long before cats, but especially the black cat, to be associated with witches and Halloween.
Sam, what are you doing?
Nothing.
You're in a chat room again pretending to be a woman, aren't you?
I like the attention.
Over time, many Halloween traditions were created. There are several early versions of trick-or-treating, but it wasn't until the 20th century when Halloween became less about the tricks and more about the treats. Halloween became big in America, and it was really seen as a night for people to rebel, especially kids. They would pull pranks, destroy buildings, and people's homes. Halloween night was so bad that it was given the nickname of Hell Night. People got smart, and so they started bribing kids with treats, snacks, and homemade baked goods. This is where trick-or-treating as we know it officially began. Artists of the 20th century began creating art that brought everything spooky together in one painting or drawing. Witches, skeletons, jack-o'-lanterns, spiders, and the spider web. Because the jack-o'-lantern was so popular, orange and black became the colors we mostly associate with this creepy holiday. With Halloween being the day of tricks, Halloween guides called bogey books began to give Halloween a new look. These guides would tell you how to be safe on Halloween and even suggest fun ideals for the kids to do on Halloween. Bogey books helped turn Halloween from a night full of terror into a night full of parties. Soon after, companies started to make masks and costumes, and candy companies also started to take advantage of this renewed holiday. This opened the door for Hollywood to come in and get their piece of this Halloween pumpkin pie. But now that we know how Halloween came to be, is this really as dark as it gets, or is there more to the fascinating tale of Halloween? Is this holiday a real satanic holiday? And does the devil himself have something to say about it?
A couple of things come to mind. One is we actually play off a lot of pagan things throughout our culture. If or yesterday was Thursday. Well, what are you doing as a Christian celebrating Thor? Oh, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, and did you say Wednesday? And did you say I'll meet you on Wednesday? Well, that's honoring Woden, you know, and Saturn is coming up tomorrow, and Freya, and like, oh, well, I don't mean that, you know, and it's just after a while you think, well, I just have to come out of the world if I'm going to be a consistent Christian.
Halloween. It is treated as a fun, loving holiday that is full of delicious treats. But is there a darker history to Halloween? Were the Druids satanic? And did satanic rituals take place on this day? And did the Celts sacrifice people to the devil himself on October 31st?
You know, I was talking to somebody. They was asking me like, yo, why don't you have a Halloween costume this year and everything? I said, yo, I don't celebrate Halloween. They was like, yo, so are you religious? I'm like, no, I'm not religious. It's just, you know, it's against the Most High to celebrate Halloween. And he was like, well, that's religious. But what people don't understand, when you celebrate Halloween, you know, you're religious, because the ancient Druids were known Satan worshipers. You know, that was a religion. Halloween's a religious practice. It's just, you know, who you worshiping. You know what I'm saying? So people say, well, I don't believe in religion, but then they go and celebrate every ancient religion holiday for Satan. So it's like when you stand for the Most High, it's religion, but when you stand for the devil, it's culture.
I'll say something here, which I don't hear that many people say, but you have to really put it in perspective. This has only been going on for 100 years or so, you know, give or take. Halloween in America. And a lot of other countries don't celebrate. It's a satanic holiday. Halloween is a satanic holiday. That's all there is to it. I know people have been indoctrinated with it. People love it. Okay? People love to dress up. They love the candy and all that stuff. The purpose behind it, not just, you know, behind the holiday and the worship of Satan, the purpose behind the trick-or-treating and all that stuff is pretty easy to figure out. They need to do child sacrifices and rituals on Halloween. How else would they get kids back 70 years ago? Okay, they were kidnapping and abducting children because kids were going around knocking on doors asking for candy. Kids were going missing. They were abducting them and using them for ritual sacrifice. Now, over time, how did they start getting their ritual sacrifices? Well, abortion became a huge thing in America because the Satanists brainwashed everybody into thinking it wasn't, you know, a murder or a sacrifice or any of those things. They said, oh, it's a woman's choice. They turned it into a feminist movement when it's actually the killing of a child. And they convinced the masses out there to go along with it, to stand up for women having the right to choose. And what it really is a sacrifice and a ritual. So as time progressed and people agreed with and went along with abortion, there wasn't as much of a need for them on Halloween to abduct kids because it was riskier to do it, right? Somebody grabbing a kid off the street, especially now with phones and the technology, is a little bit more risky for them. But since they have the abortion ritual sacrifices, they use those for their satanic rituals during this period. But kids are still getting abducted. But the reason that it started, really, even though they'll tell you, oh, it was about candy, it was about, they were trying to help out the candy business. There's all sorts of lies that float out there.
With everything we learned about Halloween tonight, it should come to no surprise to you that Halloween is indeed rooted in paganism. So we can conclude that Halloween is absolutely satanic in nature. But does this mean Christians shouldn't celebrate Halloween? Growing Pains star and also the star of the popular Christian movie Left Behind, Kirk Cameron, had an interesting take on the subject.
Just last week, actor Kirk Cameron said that Christians should, in fact, celebrate Halloween. He said, early on, Christians would dress up in costumes as the devil, ghosts and goblins, and witches, precisely to make the point that those things were defeated and overthrown by Jesus Christ.
So I would say, look, just because it had a hinky beginning, it doesn't follow. I mean, that's called the genetic fallacy. If someone says, look, I could never be an Episcopalian because Henry VIII was not a good man. He executed one of his wives and he founded the Anglican Church. So beginnings are not nothing, but they're not everything. And so the question is, what's going on here? Are you communing with spirits? Is that what's up there? Is that what's in your mind? No, not really. It's like a costume party and a treasure hunt, in a sense. But it's not enough that you don't mean it. It's also important to ask what people take by it. And I would suggest to you that when you have a little kid with a bag and he's wearing a mask with Scooby-Doo or something on it and he's going door to door getting candy, not only does he not think that he's communing with the dead, I don't think that the lost world is looking and saying, "Wow, this is an occult thing these Christians have slipped into." So to me, it's a matter of some liberty there. But I think there is a point for us to signal that we're not part of the sub-Christian or anti-Christian or creepiness of a structure. It would be unwise and inappropriate for someone to come out and dress like a devil, or have a pentagram on the forehead, or even a ghoulish kind of thing where you got the Frankenstein with the fake bolts in your neck, or you're sort of trafficking in an image which is sub-Christian. Let's not be cute with that. If we're doing something that has some strange associations, let's do it as unstrange as possible. So again, freedom, but freedom with thoughtfulness.
But one Christian who happens to be an ex-Satanist named John Ramirez totally disagrees. He claims the devil himself told him many things about why he loves it when Christians celebrate Halloween.
I was recruited into the realm of witchcraft, into spiritualism, to learn to be the third high-ranked devil worshiper for 25 years.
There's a lot of people watching hear this and don't really understand the magnitude of how real the spiritual realm is.
Absolutely. I mean, the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. My job is to paralyze you in the spirit realm, because everything starts in the spirit realm. If I can paralyze you in the spirit realm, then whatever has to happen in the natural won't happen. So I will operate in the spirit realm. The spirit realm is more real than the realm that we are in now.
The devil's #1 holiday, it's Halloween. The devil's holiday is Halloween. And a lot of believers today, they are celebrating Halloween. They are going out and renting costumes, buying costumes, making costumes, painting their doors, putting pumpkins in front of the door. First of all, the pumpkin, when you take the pumpkin, you represent the demon that controls the rivers, which is the demon called Ochun in Santeria. So the pumpkin brings that demon into your house when you put pumpkins at your door. You see, so that demon operates with pumpkins. So when you put pumpkins in your door on Halloween, as believers, you are giving the devil a entry. You're giving that principality, the demon that runs the rivers. Her name is Ochun, which is a type of Jezebel in the Jehovah religion. You're bringing that demon into your home. You're giving it access to your home, access to your family. And the most remarkable thing that the devil taught me was, I love when they celebrate Halloween. I love when they get dressed. I love when they celebrate my holiday, because they come intertwined. You come intertwined with darkness. I don't care if you're reading your Bible 20 times a day. When you turn around and you celebrate Halloween, or you open your door to Halloween, or you open your life to Halloween, or you open your family to Halloween, the devil has you by the throat. The devil has a stronghold on you by the throat. And one of the things that the devil has shown at the time that I was in the enemy's camp, the devil has shown me that the reason he loves Christians to celebrate Halloween, because the Bible says it brings a 4 to 5 generation of curse in your family. That's one of the issues that the devil knows, because and then if he knows that you can celebrate Halloween as a believer, he knows that the next generation in your family will celebrate the same thing, because it brings the generation of curse, will bring a ripple effect in the spirit realm, will attach yourself to your other family members. And on top of that, the devil, one of the things that the devil loves that Christian believers will celebrate Halloween is, and I'm giving this out today because I hope that once it's in the archives, people can tune into it, because Halloween is we're not too far off from Halloween. July is over. We in August. We're coming up in the month of August. Summer is gone pretty much. So believers are preparing themselves. Halloween party, Halloween gathering. But you have churches that are doing something that it blows my mind, Brother Shannon. You have churches that are going out and celebrating, instead of Halloween, they're celebrating harvest. harvest. I mean, God said the only harvest we know is the souls of people that are out there that are lost. The harvest is planted, the workers are few. I mean, what is this harvest stuff that we have to celebrate to replace Halloween in the churches? So you're bringing your curse to your church when you do that. You're bringing, I mean, what would you can give candy and stuff to people throughout the year. I mean, you want to give candy in your church? Hey, let's celebrate Resurrection Sunday. We give out candy. Let's make it a celebration in the church that Jesus has risen, that Jesus came out the tomb, that we are alive, that we are alive in Christ. Let's celebrate that. Why do you have to wait for Halloween, October 31st, to do harvest in your church when you're bringing the curse upon the children in your church? Because the devil, that's like a substitute of Halloween. Why are you substituting Halloween with something else? When it's not even in the Bible, the Lord say it's not even in the Bible to celebrate, substitute a holiday from the holiday. So, and another thing is you're dressing up your kids. One of the biggest demonic disillusion that the devil brings to the body of Christ on Halloween is to change costume, put on an outfit, paint your face. I don't care if you put on the Little Mermaid. I don't care if you put on Casper the Friendly Ghost. I don't care if you put on whatever Ninja Turtle. Wherever costume you put on. One of the things that has amazed me the most, that Jesus created Adam and Eve to be perfect. He created them in the garden, everything was perfect. And when the devil got into the garden and touched them and convinced them and confused their mind, that he changed their identity. He changed their identity. And one amazing thing that the devil does to many Christians today when you put on a costume, he changes your identity of who you are in Christ. By putting on a costume that you're not, you open yourself up to the most demonic attack on Halloween ever you can ever imagine.
Halloween, a day that was created by Christians, Romans, pagans, witches, and possibly devil worshippers, is now one of the biggest holidays in America. Many churches still celebrate this holiday, even with its shady past. But now many Christians are turning away from all holidays. What are your thoughts on this subject? Is Halloween satanic? Should Christians celebrate Halloween? Sound off in the comment section and let me know exactly what you think. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe today if you're new to my channel. Also, hit the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And because there will be no UPTV without viewers like you, I would like to give a special shout out to Jade Williams for recently donating to the channel. Thank you so much for your support and helping to keep this channel alive. It means more than you know. Thanks again for watching today. My name is Devin with UPTV. I love you, family, and I'll holla at y'all later. Peace.
Magic that brought us back only works tonight on All Hallows Eve. When the sun comes up, we're toast. Pudding!
Thank you for watching UPTV. If you like this video and would love to see more, check out these great videos here. And don't forget to subscribe to UPTV and UPTV2 for even more great videos.